Hello, it's truly an honor to be here with you at the Midwest Clinic, an event that has truly changed my life over the years. I'm going to speak about a topic today that I think is always relevant, but it might be especially relevant with some of the challenging times that we're all facing. And since I only have 10 minutes, I am going to jump right in. So I would argue that human nature leads us to yearn for success and find purpose in what we do, both personally and professionally. And that looks different for everyone. It could be running a business or playing a sport at a high level or leading a school music program. But the desire for success and fulfillment and happiness is the same. And when I say success, I don't necessarily mean winning things. Creating beautiful music is a version of success. Feeling joy from helping someone is fulfilling. Seeing our students thrive makes us happy. And that's all success in our lives. So the specifics of what success, happiness, and fulfillment look like are kind of irrelevant. But acknowledging that we desire these concepts in our lives, and so do our students, to me is what's important. So how do we create this for ourselves and for our students? Well, I mean, there are infinite ways to answer that. And like we all know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? But in my experience as the director of bands at Reagan, I have found a specific mindset and approach that we apply to each rehearsal, each day, season, and school year that has been the underlying factor that fosters this culture of positivity, success, fulfillment, and happiness for students and staff alike. And so you might be wondering, well, what is it? You might have guessed it if you know the title of the clinic, but it's this idea of being happy but not satisfied. And so what do those words really mean? Well, to me, it means finding joy and contentment in our daily lives through the process of growth and development in all areas, both professional and personal. And it's accepting the fact that there is no end, that if we wait until we get to the end or the other side of a goal or achievement to be happy, we're probably consistently going to be let down. And that's this idea of I'll be happy once I. So gradually shifting our mindset to understand and believe that happiness comes from not being satisfied is what this boils down to. And it's the idea that we can go to bed at night feeling proud of the growth and improvement we made that day, as well as looking forward to the growth that we're going to get to experience the next day. That's the essence of the phrase. It's that we get to continue to improve and that we surrender to the process. And so a quick overview of some ways of how we can implement this into our programs and into our lives. I'm going to briefly discuss how de-emphasizing the importance of the competitive result is so important, how we can exude positivity to make happy not satisfied come to life in our programs, and how reframing goal setting is something that can change the way we look at competition, our programs, other staff members, and our students. So first of all, this idea of de-emphasizing the importance of the competitive result. I would say that competition is kind of woven into the fabric of our job descriptions in one way or another, almost across the board, whether that's taking our middle school band to concert band contest or taking a large high school marching band to Bands of America Grand Nationals or applying for a conference to perform at or anything in between. There's probably an element of competition in what we're doing on a day-to-day or season-to-season or year-to-year basis. So how we frame competition for ourselves and our students, I think, can make or break the culture of our programs. So first of all, we don't have control over the competitive results as much as we might wish we do, or sometimes trick ourselves into thinking we do. All we can do is prepare and lean into the process, and then the chips will fall where they may, right? And also competition is really a tiny sliver of what we actually do in terms of what we spend time on. Being at a competition makes up maybe 1% or less of the time we spend with our students in our programs. So focusing on just the result kind of diminishes the impact and importance of the process and the journey. And the process and the journey is where we spend our time, and it's where I would argue the magic happens. So this idea of focusing solely on the result can potentially lead to disappointment or behavior issues or even resentment with students maybe amongst each other, but even towards us as directors or the program. And I've seen that happen, and it's something that can really harbor feelings of negativity. So this idea of focusing only on the achievement can create stress and anxiety for students and for yourself. And I actually spend a really significant amount of time within my program framing competition and re-emphasizing the importance of the process and de-emphasizing the importance of the actual result itself. And that comes from talking about it almost every single day, using positive performance experiences to reinforce the idea that we did what we set out to do because we feel great about what we did and we communicated with the audience, and if it happens to break in our favor with the competition, still talking about how we should be proud of ourselves. But the fact that we followed our process is really what we should be feeling great about. And I think that human nature is going to give your students more than enough competitive drive. And it's going to give us competitive drive too. If we're going to a contest, we want to do well. And there's no reason for us to add fuel to that fire. If anything, we have to probably do the opposite to be productive and positive in how we approach competition. And so the next thing that I would talk about is this idea of exuding positivity. And you are what you eat, right? And so your students are going to adopt your disposition, and they're going to take on some of your personality, whether you realize it or not, and whether they realize it or not. And I would talk to you for a second about this idea that life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we respond. And so that means even when we have a bad day or there's a negative event in our lives, whether it's personally or within our programs, it's so much more about how we rise above that and show our students that we are in control of how we respond, as opposed to letting events control us. That is a really powerful life lesson. And it's not just important for our programs to prosper and thrive. It's important for students to take heart and to take that to heart, I should say, and bring it with them once they graduate from your program. And I'd also say it's important for us to fight against this addiction to misery, which sounds a little extreme, but you can probably think of people that maybe go down this rabbit hole of, why is this happening to me or to my program? And you can easily get distracted and deterred by negativity or perceive things in a negative way, when it's our job as teachers and as motivators and as people that young people look up to show an example of what positivity looks like, even when, or especially when, it's not easy to do it. And so when a sense of positivity permeates your program, I think it will eventually become the default for the members and the staff, for you, even for the parents. And that's a place where recently I've had some big breakthroughs in my own program. I've been relentlessly positive with parents and trying to reframe the way they look at what we do, in terms of dwelling less on what the result was or the placement was, and looking more at what their students are getting out of the program and what we're doing every day, and them receiving some of that message themselves. And that's been really rewarding for everybody involved. And I would say, even if a program right now is overwhelmingly negative, a relentless sense of positivity will eventually prevail. And that eventually might take some patience, right? You might have to stick with it for a long time, but I'm confident it'll get there eventually. And it requires mental toughness and a strong sense of will from you. But again, and from me, that's our job, right? As music teachers and as leaders of programs, that's what we're here to do. So again, it's our job to lead the way with positivity, even on, or especially on, I would say, those difficult days. And that's where you can really make a difference with your students with this specific idea. And so the last thing I want to touch on is this idea of reframing goal setting. And this relates a little bit back to the competitive results idea that I talked about. But I would say unproductive goal setting can lead to anxiety in students and ourselves, and stress. And I'll talk about what I mean with unproductive goal setting in a second. But it's important that goals are within our control. Like I said earlier, we don't control the competitive results, so that's not a productive goal. We have to think about this idea of process over product and making the goals relate to the process. So focusing solely or mostly on the end result, I think, is a gamble, and the risk reward doesn't really work in our favor, because at worst, you didn't achieve the goal. Something doesn't quite go the way you were hoping, and then you're disappointed, the students are disappointed, that sense of resentment is there. Or even if it does go the way you were hoping, if you were only putting your mind on the result, there's a good chance you spent a lot of the process not really thinking about what was going on as clearly, or allowing yourself to feel joy along the way. So if you were trying to find happiness by achieving a goal, if that happened, instead of seeking growth and improvement each day and relishing in the opportunity that endlessly exists to get better. So I don't think you should stop setting goals. I just think that you should make sure they're goals that you can control, like how positive your program is being, right? Communicating with the audience in your performances, how your organization treats each other, instead of trying to win a contest or make finals or beat our crosstown rival. So In closing, I would say that achievements are byproducts of the process. And if we use this happy, not satisfied approach, we develop a culture of positivity, which leads to a culture of excellence. Thank you so much.